esteemed panel of judges for today includes Mr. Hemant Sahai. Mr. Sahai is the founding partner of HSA Advocates, a leading law firm in India. In a career spanning over 3 decades, he has developed a distinct focus on projects, energy and infrastructure, regulatory disputes, and governance issues impacting companies and their boards. He advises companies on a range of aspects such as enterprise risk, corporate governance, regulatory challenges, corporate restructuring, and dispute strategy. As a member of several government committees, Mr. Sahai frequently works with ministries and regulatory authorities on refining the legal and policy framework in India, and has been involved in crafting and advising on significant policy and regulatory frameworks across diverse infrastructure sectors in India and few other countries. Working together with organizations like the World Bank, IFC, ADB, and Planning Commission of India, Sir is a member of the boards of several organizations, including public listed companies. He has studied BCom Honours and LLB at University of Delhi and also a member of International Bar Association. So we are delightful to have you with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
The second judge that we have with us today is Mr. Nalin Kohli. Mr. Kohli is a respected advocate at the Supreme Court of India and the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. He is also the Senior Additional Advocate General of the Government of Assam. Mr. Kohli is the government nominee of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India, on the Disciplinary Committee of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and has also been a member of the high-level committee set up by the MC to suggest improvements in the disciplinary mechanism of the institutes pertaining to chartered accountants, company secretaries, and cost accountants. He was the first chairman of the board of directors of the Insolvency Professionals Agency, which was set up by the ICSI. He is chairman of the anti-doping panel of the National Anti-Doping Agency. Sir is also a well-known media personality. He read the English primetime news on Doordarshan, India's national television channel, and anchored over 2,000 hours of broadcasting of various events in India and overseas. He was instrumental in the setting up of the BJP's National Media Cell and was its first co-convener and later convener from August 2003 until December 2009. He was the founder director for a leading media institute in collaboration with the Missouri School of Journalism, USA, the oldest journalism school in the world. So we feel honored to have you with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. That felt like a long history lesson of my life.
The next guest that we have today with us is Ms. Nandini Gaur. Ms. Nandini Gaur, senior partner at Karanjawala & Co. and advocate on record at the Supreme Court of India. She has been practicing since 1988 and has an experience of over 30 years at the bar, specializing in litigation, arbitration, corporate practice, and mediation practice. She has pursued her LLB and LLM from Campus Law Center, New Delhi. Ms. Gaur has been ranked by Chambers and Partners Asia consecutively from 2012 to 2019 for her outstanding service in the field of litigation. She has also been listed by the Lawyers World 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018 in the Premier 500 category. She has been awarded as Prominent Woman in Law Award 2016. She's also figured in Leaders in Law in Commercial Litigation and Mediation for 2017. Ms. Gaur is known for her drafting skills and all-round knowledge of rules and procedures, particularly for her expertise in handling complex corporate and constitutional matters in Supreme Court for the firm. She's also handled high-profile royal family disputes, matters pertaining to environmental and vehicular pollution, matters involving laws relating to mining or ore and coal, and also disputes relating to drugs and pharmaceuticals. Apart from Supreme Court practice, ma'am also attends to matters in high courts on a pan-India basis. Appellate Tribunal for Electricity, National Green Tribunal, Company Law Board, Mines Tribunal, etc. She has also appeared before various commissions of inquiry set up in India to investigate politically sensitive events that have occurred with the government of the day felt were of sufficient importance to merit the appointment of a special commission of inquiry. Ms. Kaur is a certified mediator from the Supreme Court of India at the panel of Supreme Court Mediation Committee. In addition, she has acted as mediator in various high-profile matters. She has attended the advanced training program in mediation conducted by the Mediation and Conciliation Committee of the Supreme Court of India. She has done her mediation training program from USA and has done at least hundreds of mediations for private sectors and court-annexed mediation and pre-litigation mediation matters. She has also been elected as the Secretary of Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association. We are grateful to have you with us, ma'am. Thank you for being present today.
Thank you so much. My surname is Gore, not Gore. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Mrs. Sahil Narang is the next judge that we have today with us. Mr. Narang is a partner with the Dispute Resolution and Arbitration team at Delhi and is qualified to practice as an advocate on record of the Supreme Court of India. Sir has substantial experience in advising and representing domestic and international clients in commercial litigation and arbitration. He was awarded the 40 under 40 Rising Star 2020 by Legal Era and ALP India Rising Star 2022 by Asian Legal Business. He has dealt with a broad variety of complex disputes, including one of the biggest ever corporate frauds in India, the Satyam scam. He has also worked on numerous shareholder disputes and has represented clients before various forums. His work ranged from advising on regulatory issues to litigation before the Supreme Court of India, various high courts, consumer forums, and tribunals across India. He is currently representing clients in the entertainment industry and EV sector across multiple fora. Sir has been extensively dealing with emerging areas of law such as sports law, food safety, data privacy, insolvency, and bankruptcy, and has advised various domestic and global clients on issues involved in these areas of law. He is also a co-chair at Competition Law and Consumer Affairs Committee, PhD CCI. He has also assisted and appeared before the domestic arbitral tribunals as well as institutional arbitral tribunals constituted under the SIAC, ICC, and LCIA, amongst others. Sir, we are honored to have you with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Many thanks for the kind introduction, and I can only say that it is truly an honor to be judging with stalwarts of the Indian legal industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. The next judge that we have today is Mr. Nihit Nagpal. Mr. Nagpal is a partner dispute resolution at SS Rana & Co. and holds master's degree in business law. Mr. Nagpal leads a specialized team for dispute resolution at the firm and heads the ADR desk at SS Rana & Co. Sir regularly advises clients globally on a wide range of IP, commercial, corporate, and consumer matters, data privacy, property disputes, real estate disputes, franchising, unfair trade practices, competition law, and white-collar crimes. With more than 12 years post-qualification experience, Sir regularly appears before various forums, including the Honorable Supreme Court of India, High Courts, and National Consumer Redressal Forum, National Green Tribunal District Courts. Sir excels in arbitration and mediation and has vast experience in handling international commercial arbitration under ICC rules. Sir has been regularly contributing chapters in various leading books discussing the nuances of Indian commercial litigation and enforcement for international arbitral awards in India. Nehit sir has been regularly writing articles analyzing the IP decisions passed by various courts of the country. I think he could not join because of some issues, but I think he'll be joining us later. So we can continue with the session. Just to ensure the session runs smoothly, here are some general guidelines. The session will not exceed 90 minutes in total. The opening statement should be 10 minutes in total, 5 minutes for each mediator. The conference should be 30 minutes in total, 10 minutes for the requesting party, 10 minutes for the responding party, and 10 minutes for the mediators. The caucus should be 10 minutes in total, 5 minutes for each party, and the second conference should be 30 minutes in total, 10 minutes for each party, and 10 minutes for the mediators. The self-evaluation period should be 10 minutes in total, 100 seconds for each individual. With the judge's permission, we shall begin with the opening statements of the mediators.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
the best to all the parties.
Yes,
All the
I
best to all the participants. Now it is time for the mediation proceedings. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. Welcome to the mediation session. I hope nobody had any problem in joining the meeting link. All right. I am Anushka. I will be co-mediating the session today with my learned co-mediator, Clement. My preferred pronouns are she/her. Why don't we have a quick round of introductions? And while the parties are introducing themselves, kindly mention that you have the requisite authority to make decisions that may arise out of the mediation session today.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening. My name is Wanlupe Chidima. I am the Chief Investment Officer of Invesco, and I am authorized to make decisions based on the outcome of this mediation. Thank you.
Good afternoon and good evening. My name is Matthew Baker. You can just call me Matthew. I am the legal counsel for my clients.
Greetings, everyone. I am Raj Pipara. I am the Chief Executive Officer of Startup Inclusive. For the convenience of this session, you can call me Raj. Also, I hold authority to take decision on behalf of Startup.
Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Hello. My name is Vaishnavi, and I am Raj's counsel today. You can call me counsel or Vaishnavi, whatever is convenient to you. And as he said, he holds the decision-making authority.
All right. Thank you so much, parties, for the introduction. Time is money. Mediation is a process which is devised to settle disputes between two parties. It could be between two countries, two MNCs, two state governments, etc. It is a quick method to resolve disputes between two parties confidentially. It is performed by a neutral party, that would be the mediators here today. Parties can get a better bargain in the process, and it saves a lot of time as well. Because in courts, issues are decided on the basis of facts, but in mediation, parties reach an agreement which is beneficial to both. Mediation is a voluntary process. The parties have chosen to be here, and this shows that the parties are willing to communicate, and there is willingness to reach an amicable solution with mutually beneficial solutions. It is also a flexible process in the sense that the parties drive the conversation that may be present here. We are the mere drivers of this session. Consider the parties to be the GPS, and the final destination would certainly be decided by the parties. Like I mentioned, it is very different from litigation. If, let's just say, there was a dispute over an orange, the parties might be fighting over the pulp and the peel. The judge would probably ask the parties to split it or sell and divide the proceeds. But mediation is about understanding the needs of each party, because there might be a situation that one party might want the peel and the other party might just simply want the pulp. This is equitable and it also maximizes benefits. We as mediators are not here to see any party win or lose. We are neutral and impartial facilitators of the session to have an open and frank discussion. Lastly, we are bound by law to not disclose the contents of the mediation session today, unless, of course, any party admits to any unlawful act. You might see us taking notes throughout the session, but rest assured, the notes will be destroyed at the instance of either parties. Now I will hand over to my learned co-mediator.
Thank you, Anushka. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, depending on where you are in the world. It's really a pleasure to meet all of you, although in the form of small squares on my screen right now. For today's mediation, Anushka and I can give you 3 assurances, and in return, we merely have 2 requests. But firstly, as your mediators, we'll be acting as neutral third parties in today's session. This means that while we won't be able to make decisions for you on the issues and options on the table, where we love to help you is to listen to what you really want and to check some of the ideas on the table. The second assurance is that today's process is completely confidential. I will do everything in my power to ensure that everything you say to each other or to the both of us will stay confidential. This is an absolutely safe space. And just to reiterate, any notes that you see either Anushka or myself take will be discarded after this session. The third assurance is that this process is without prejudice, where nothing said here can be used in a court proceeding. This is applied to every part of the mediation, including the caucus. And I am sure that Matthew and Vishnavi would have already told your clients about this. Now, as to the 2 requests, first, I will want all parties to treat each other with mutual respect, and I implore you not to use any abusive or unkind language. I understand that in the course of the mediation, as well as because of the circumstances leading to the mediation, tensions may inevitably run high. But let us set our minds to the present moment and be in the conscious practice of patience and understanding. Second, open-mindedness. While I know that this is a difficult situation, it's worth pointing out that mediation opens doors that litigation closes. So let us use this flexibility that this forum has to offer to come up with creative solutions. As Anushka has said, you can make both our jobs easier by engaging in an honest and candid discussion on what both of you would like to achieve. And I'm confident that we can do just that. Are we agreeable with this request? Excellent. At this point, let's switch gears and talk about your roles today. I understand that not all parties might be familiar with mediation, and even if you've gone for mediation, you may have different experiences. But just for clarity's sake, I'll briefly run us through the general process. There are 4 main stages we have to take note of. First, we'll hear the opening statements from both parties. Very simply, this is your time to tell us your story, why you're here today, and what you hope to achieve. After that, we'll move into the agenda setting. Here, we'll jointly come up with key areas of discussion and create a comprehensive list that will guide us into the third important stage, known as the joint session. Very simply, for the joint session, both parties, you are free to discuss and eventually generate options, evaluate them, and hopefully at the end of this session, come to some agreement. Of course, Anushka and I will guide you along the way. The fourth and final important stage is the private or caucus session, where each of you are allocated 5 minutes. If during the session you feel like you have some information that is somewhat private, or there are things that you only want me to know so that I can better help you, please do not hesitate to call for a caucus. What this does is that it adds a layer of confidentiality so that the other party will not be privy to the conversation, unless, of course, you give me the authority to do so. Is everyone okay so far? I know it's a lot of information, so please feel free to ask any questions. Great, perfect. I think, thank you for listening. Now, bearing in mind that this is a 90-minute session, may we hear from the requesting party, please?
Thank you, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the mediators for taking us through this seamless process and how it works. I am very grateful. Wow. And I also want to thank I also want to thank you all for coming to this mediation. It's not easy. And I know that going through the troubled waters is what we're here for. And thanks once more. Like I said, my name is VIMC'23. I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Investment Co. I have been with the company for over 2 decades. I am responsible for all aspects of the investments, the company investments, strategies, including startup investments. I would like to establish that I have been given authorization by my CEOs and stakeholders to make final decisions based on the outcome of this mediation. Investco is a private equity firm that specializes in investing in startups and emerging companies over the years. We've been a pillar for so many startup companies, and so we understand the importance of having a helping hand in the early days of formation. We invested $5 million in the Startup Exchange, in Startup Inc., in exchange for 20% ownership stake and a seat at the board of directors. This is an investment we've made based on Startup Inc.'s projections of the significance of growth and profitability over a period of 5 years. 2 years into this arrangement or agreement, Startup Inc. has failed to achieve this revenue and profit targets projected despite the repeated requests for more information to enable us help them better and to know in what capacity we might be able to assist. They have been invasive and very uncooperative, and the financial report had been delivered very untimely. We have also noticed lapses in financial management of the setup, which have led to a decrease in revenue. We also feel that there's a lack in transparency of the management in its performance. We have constantly provided Setup Co. valuable guidance and support by introducing them to potential customers, investors, as well as helping them employ key members of the organization. We have seen that we've been able to do our part in this agreement, but we have still not been able to get access to Startup Co. My counsel is here to give you all more details about this issue and the legal aspect that we have to suffer. We all know that it is not an easy thing. Starting a new company has always been difficult. Because we understand this, we are ready to go on this journey with Startup Co. to figure out ways that we can walk through these troubled waters and get to exactly what we want in a place that is beneficial for both of us. With this, I would like to hand over to my counsel for more clarifications and legal standings. Thank you very much.
First of all, I'd like to thank both of the mediators for explaining the process so clearly, and I'm sure minimizing any worries that my client may have had coming into this. Again, I am Matthew. I'm counsel for the Chief Investment Officer of Investco, Nwalubwe. My role today will be to deal with any of the legal technicalities in the session. I would like to clarify that I'm not here to make any legal arguments, merely just to protect my client's interests through an advisory capacity. I will do this by checking the validity and correctness of any solutions that may be brought to the table, in addition to perhaps voicing any points that I feel may be beneficial for my clients and therefore me to hear. After listening to Nwalubwe speak just now, there are some points that I would like to make sure that we discuss, that I'm sure I will be enlightened upon after hearing Raj speak in a moment. I would like to receive some clarity on the communication issue and the reasons behind that. I would like to receive some clarity on the finances and if there are any external or maybe internal reasons why they have not been up to standard or the standard that we were predicted. And of course, I would like to discuss the future business relations and how we can work around to solve this problem. Now, I admit these points might overlap, but I hope that we can have a productive session that results in all parties contributing and sharing their interests in order to conclude with an amicable solution for everyone. Thank you very much.
If the responding party would begin with their opening statement.
Hello, everybody. As I mentioned before, my name is Vaishnavi Panyam, and I am the counsel for Raj. Today, I would like to start off by greeting and extending my gratitude to the mediators, Anushka and Clemens, for taking this up and helping us navigate through this session. Also, of course, to Juan, if that's if I got that name correct. Okay, okay. Should I go with Juan?
Juan Lupue, or you can just call us Investment Co. It's fine.
Okay. Investment Co. and their legal counsel, Matthew, for inviting us actually to this negotiation. And where we hope that we leave this table with a fruitful solution. I am a practicing lawyer here in India, and I specialize in corporate and commercial laws and dispute resolution. I've been working with Raj for a couple of years now. So I'm here to merely represent Raj and act as his legal advisor and fiduciary. I will ensure legal soundness on our part. My intention here is to not cloud Raj's judgment. I may advise him, but the final decision making capacity rests with him and him only. I'll be dealing with any calculations, any evaluations, or maybe legal outcomes of any deals that may arise during the course of this discussion. So that is my role today. Raj, would you like to talk about the matter at hand?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Vaishnavi. But before starting with my opening, I'm in a quite dilemma whether to apologize for the mistakes that we have done or to narrate the good news that I have. So I'll go with the good one. So I have a good news to share that I'm very exciteful that and I'm sure that you will also be very excited to know as an investor of our firm. And I was waiting to give you this news even while you were presenting your statements, your opening statements. Just 20 minutes prior to coming for this session, we received a huge order of our newly launched product that would not only create a huge impact on our revenue, but hopefully even the outcome of today's session. So I was very excited the whole time I was sitting to share this great news with you. With this, I would like to highlight the fact that I have no intention of getting involved into blame game, because as both the mediators have rightly stated that then the purpose of this mediation in itself will get defeated. Rather, I am here to come out with a practical and an amicable solution to this stalemate. And I'm sure Investor Co wants the same. With this, I would like to express my heartiest gratitude to both the mediators for explaining the intricacies of this mediation session. And also, I'm very thankful to the Investor Co and their client for requesting us to come and mediate instead of going somewhere else. I'll not name them. So, as a startup inclusive, as a CEO of Startup Inclusive, we value Investor Co more than anything. And that's the reason I'm here today to resolve our differences. And for the same, I'll put my point across. Startup Inclusive is a very unique technology venture that aims to find innovative solutions to our everyday problems. We have the best of web developers and experts who provide world-class tech services to our esteemed clientele. Here are clientele ranging from big business houses to reputed individuals. We are also indulged in providing communication services like mailing services to various law firms, just to name a few, which includes Khaitan & Co, SS Rana and Karanjewala as well. Not only this, we also provide our services to several non-banking financial institutions, some of which you would be aware of as you bought us those clients to us. So just going on a little brief of when I started this, I was in my third year of college when I and my friend Dinshaw McKenzie has an idea of this startup. We spent the next 3 years after graduating solely building this business and finally created the company in 2015. with the vision of groundbreaking software projects. Today, we have a good clientele, and I must say that a decent reputation in the market. Based on our growth and vision of our next 5 years, we got many investments for our company, and Investor Co is the biggest of them. We had an agreement where you invested $5 million with a stake of 20% ownership and a seat on the board of directors. I also remember celebrating this fact as the one of the top and a big investors such as yours saw our potential and invested in our vision. Business was running smooth for the initial 2 years of our collaborations until we stopped seeing eye to eye. Yes, that's the issue that occurred. We stopped seeing eye to eye. As someone who considers this business as his baby, I was potentially dejected the lack of support when I see that lack of support that we have received when we needed. What we believe is that the operational monetary support from Investor Co would have been a boon to us at the time when we were in need, but we are willing to keep those issues aside and working on solutions as we both have done some mistakes, and I really want to apologize for the same, for being sometimes late, for being not punctual from our side, and I want to apologize on the behalf of whole startup inclusive that we were not punctual with our commitments. But with this, that as we had a lot of the reason being that we had a lot on our plate last year. We could not submit a timely financial report. We were the reason for the same is that we were working on various new strategies at that time to capture the market with our trending AI tool, that is the Talk GPT. With this, I think that I have taken much of the time. Now I'd like my counsel to go further. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. A couple of things that I heard you say, and also from the that I got from the discussions that we had earlier, is that, and also from listening to you, is that there is now a lack of trust between both parties due to the circumstances. And that is one point that we want to resolve, is that how do we rebuild the trust that we lost? And I want to also answer a couple of queries that Matthew had, such as the communication issues and the finances. So from your statement, I understood that there was, you needed financial and operation backing at some point, which you felt that you didn't get. Okay, so that is one issue that my client was facing. And about the financial issue, I also know that Raj values Investment Co a lot. And as he mentioned before, Investment Co is our biggest investor. So losing you would have a huge and adverse impact on us. And also, one more thing that I would like to add is there were certain exchanges that we did have during this dispute that weren't very friendly. And I would suggest that we let those go, and we don't let that affect our decisions today, as it would affect our companies, both our companies' reputation, and while also it would disrupt Startup Inc.'s day-to-day business operations. So that is something that we want to work on, is to rebuild trust and to sort of find ways to work around this dispute without backing off. So that's our main agenda here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akshnita and Raj. I think both of you gave an excellent rundown about Investor Co and Startup Incorporated. And I think that gave me a lot of the insight as to the working relationship between the both of you. And Matthew and Vaishnavi, I think you did a brilliant job of summarizing what both parties are here to discuss today. I think Anushka and I would love to summarize what has been said. So perhaps Anushka, could you summarize what the InvestorCo is here to achieve today?
Right, thank you, mediator. I think the requesting party succinctly summarized the situation that's there in front of us. As the requesting party mentioned, that InvestorCo invested $5 million in Startup Inc. with 20% ownership stake and a seat at the board of directors. However, there was some friction between the two companies, because of which InvestorCo now wants to sell its stake. They also mentioned that the required guidance that was promised to Startup Inc. was also provided, and they fulfilled their obligations as a valued shareholder and a member of the board. They introduced them to potential customers and key personnel that Startup Inc. would benefit from. Like the counsel for the requesting party stated, they want certain clarifications on the communication and the lack of communication, rather, as to why were the financial reports were not submitted and there was some time lag. Lastly, they would also like to discuss some future collaborations that could be possible between the two parties. Please let me know if I have missed anything, and we would be more than happy to add it. All right, thank you so much. Over to you, co-mediator.
Thank you, Anushka. As for Startup Inc., I think firstly, I need to commend Raj for offering the apology at the forefront. I think that has really set the tone for how collaborative this session will take. And I really like what Vaishnavi has said about having no intention to play the blame game and to leave the past at the door before coming to mediation. Ultimately, mediation opens doors that litigation closes. And certainly with the help of Anushka and I, we will be looking forward to a very fruitful session. I think with that in mind, Vaishnavi, I've heard that you have 3 broad points that you would like to talk about. I think firstly, it's about rebuilding trust with InvestorCo, right? And there you seek to have try to build back the good working relationship that you had 2 years ago. And secondly, you want to seek clarifications, right, as to some of the communication issues, as well as some of the finances moving forward into the future. And thirdly, you did mention something about reputation, right? Because reputation is key to Startup Inc. as well as InvestorCo. May I check if this is correct? That's great. Thank you so much. I think all of you have spoken at this point, and I heard a lot of commonalities between the both of you. It's extremely heartening, and I think it's best for me to lay it out at the start, so we know that we are on a positive route at this point.
Sorry to interject, co-mediator. I feel that the responding party has something to add.
Yes, thank you so much. So there is a slight change that I would like to make. Yes, definitely. We would like to talk about rebuilding trust. We would the communication, the clarification was sought by the requesting party, that is InvestorCo, that we would answer shortly. And we would want to talk about how we can work our way around this issue and not, and to, maybe try different methods instead of InvestorCo selling its shares back to Startup. That is our agenda.
I see. Thank you, Vaishnavi. I understand that these clarifications are really a mode for us to move this collaboration into the future, right? And that involves tackling the present issues. I hear you, and I think there are a lot of commonalities. You mentioned that communication is something that that Matthew and Akshmita would like to talk about. So it's really great that you're accommodating to that as well. So for a more expedient agenda setting, I will assist to repackage these points and propose an all-encompassing agenda that covers both parties' interests. Perhaps my Anushka, my co-mediator, could help to put them in the Zoom chat function, using the Zoom chat function. Right. I think firstly, there is both parties would really want to seek clarifications, right? That's the first thing. Where we can talk about both the communication matters as well as the finances issue. Secondly, it's about trust, right? How trust would look like. We can talk more about that in the joint session. Thirdly, about reputation, right? This is something of key interest to both parties based on what I've heard. And fourth, continuation. Looking forward into the future, what are some of the things that perhaps Startup Inc. and InvestorCo are interested to pursue? Thank you, Anushka. I think in the meantime, I just want to say that while the agenda is really to give our discussion greater structure and clarity, I would like to emphasize that the agenda is really a living organism where you can modify along the way, as this is ultimately your discussion. So it's a very flexible tool to guide the conversation.
Right, as my co-mediator succinctly summarized, the agendas have been put in the chat box. And like Clement mentioned, that there are certain commonalities between the agendas that have been put on the chat box. So if the parties are okay, why don't we start with the communication aspect and the clarifications that both the parties seek on financial matters and certain reports that were not exchanged, if both the parties are agreeable?
Yes. In respect to the communication, like I said earlier, we have made several attempts. We have made several attempts to reach out to Startup Inc., but without any avail. And this has really troubled us. And have had an impact on our investments. Because when we put in money to companies, we want to see that they're doing well, not just the money they make, but that the process in which they make their money is well done and that they have everything they need to excel. But this has been an issue walking around it with Startup. But I know hopefully with this mediation, we can all put instruments in place to make sure that's been done. And in respect to finance, I clearly heard when there was an issue about when you needed financial support. And I'm sure my counsel would have more clarification on that, because for all we know, we had an agreement of 5 years with an investment of 5 million naira. We have held up to our part of the bargain. With that investment, there was never a mention of any additional fund that we were required to put in without necessary communication or documentation. It is a business, and we cannot put in money into places that we don't even get feedbacks from. I hope you understand maybe how it feels that we're a bit reluctant in your journey because we are not part of it. And we want to be part of it. And we're making efforts to be part of it, to get you the best personnel, to get you the best investors, to do everything we can. And would really appreciate if all these issues can be ironed out to enable us know our stance with you. So my counsel will be having a more expanded approach to this. Thank you very much.
First of all, congratulations on the recent order. And as Clement helpfully said, thank you very much for the apology. I'm sure that my client has been somewhat pacified by that. However, it is of my view that it would not be beneficial necessarily for her to just let go of the issues. She essentially is just seeking not a guarantee, but a method for the disruption in communication to not happen again. Furthermore, the direct clarification was very well answered by Raj about why the delay happened with your new strategies being created and the time being spent on that. However, it would be nice and would be, I'm sure, beneficial for my client to really understand what it was specifically you wanted from the operational backing that she could provide, and also, as previously stated, what real financial support you wanted. Thank you.
At this juncture, I think there's quite a substantial amount of information that has been canvassed. I think this just shows that we are heading into some form of meaningful conversation. Both Chitimita and Matthew, you have said several things. And I think at the forefront, what is most important to you, it seems like you just want to establish greater contact with Startup Inc. Right? And how does that look like? I think you are keen to explore some of the instruments, some methods to increase the communication gateways you have with Startup Inc. so that you're able to walk this journey with them. And I think, Matthew, you have briefly touched about some of the clarifications they want about the financial issues. So with that in mind, Raj, could you provide some sort of, your opinions about that?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, thank you, Mr. Mediator. I would go in line while answering to each and every clarification or each and every query that is being required. But before answering, again, I would like to apologize that for not being punctual, and we at Startup really feel guilty of the same, that we were not punctual to our biggest investor. And I'll not use any but to answer this. The only thing that I would like to say is that we apologize for the same. Here, I would also like to highlight the fact that we value you more than anyone. Now, I would like you to understand one fact, that you invested in our company with a 20% ownership and a seat of director. That shows that you own the company. You are also the company. It's not we who are a startup. It is you who were also at the position to run the startup. You were the director of the company. And what we have expected, we have got. I will say without doubt that what we have expected, we have got, but not as a director of the company. We have expected that we would get the marketing support for our newly launched product Talk GPT, that we didn't got because of these let's say these errors from our side only. But as a director, I have expected to have this amount of support, this amount of financial as well as the marketing support to our newly launched product. That's all I can say.
That is?
Yeah.
About the financial statements, I do agree that there were a lapse, and the financial statements weren't presented on a timely basis, and Raj has just given an answer for that. However, when you invested in Startup Inc., sorry, I'm so sorry, you invested with the foresight of the next 5 years and not the next 2 years. Now, with startups, what happens is that they take a couple of years to actually see financial growth. So the initial few years of startups are usually very stagnant, and sometimes they even see losses. So that is one thing that investors usually, who maybe they foresee, or maybe this is something that tech insiders understand more. So that's no issue on your part. But this is a clarification that I would give as a counsel, that startups usually take some time to gain momentum financially and operationally. So you may see in the initial few years that a startup doesn't do very well. But if the ideas are great and if the startup already has a good clientele, then it is very safe to say that in the next few years, the startup will do extremely well. And this is the reason I'm sure you had a great eye for new startups when you invested in my client's company. And I hope you don't, lose that because of this short span of time. I know that Startup Inc. has a lot of potential, even as a council, and we will perform. And just give us 3 more years, like we promised. We will show you our financial records, and you will see a significant growth in my client's company.
Right. Thank you. I'd like to thank Vaishnavi and Raj. I see it's splendid that there's accountability and it is being taken by the responding party. It's refreshing that Raj has offered an apology to the requesting party. I see that there are certain clarifications that were made by the council and the party here. With respect to the operational backing and the financial aspects that were mentioned by the council for the requesting party, it was stated that they wanted support for their new venture, Talk GPT. And they said that since they had a 20% ownership stake and a seat at the board of directors, they were just as much a part of the company as a director, and they could have offered a bit more support. So I think there's some friction on that end. Lastly, as the council, Vaishnavi mentioned that for startups, there's a stagnant period that's always present. And since it's just been 2 years and there was an agreement for 5 years, they require another 3 years to see actual real growth. I would like to see what the requesting party would like to add to their opinions.
Actually, thank you, Anushka. A lot has been said indeed, but I could sense that both parties, there seemed to be a discrepancy in what are the expected roles and responsibilities of a director and the participation of that in Startup Inc. So I think at this point in time, it'll be apposite to call for a caucus and a private session. So what we'll do is we'll have 5 minutes given to the requesting party Investco, and we'll extend the same to Startup Inc. That being said, would it be possible for our session moderator, Mansi, to facilitate Startup Inc. to go to the breakout room?
Right, but if the Startup Inc. could just leave the breakout room themselves. Thank you.
Absolutely, just a second.
Right, I think they have left the room. Welcome to the private caucus. I would just like to affirm confidentiality here at this juncture. Whatever you say here would not be revealed to the other party unless you explicitly ask us. I would like to begin with this caucus by asking a simple question. What is your goal here in this mediation session today? What are your expectations?
Our expectations are actually quite simple. We want accountability and we want improvement in competence. Those are the major ones. But before I proceed, my counsel would have to make a clarification, then I would come back to certain issues.
Yes, as listening to my client, she just said she wants an improvement in the communications. I believe it's in her interest, but it's not just an improvement, but a guarantee. For example, I hope to take the opportunity right now to hear from Nwalupe a little bit more about what you believe could be done in the sense that what you're willing to do. For example, would you be willing to, either yourself or representative, go monthly or whenever necessary to talk to Startup Inc. or regarding what kind of financial commitment you were expecting or would be willing if you are willing? I need to hear your interest first to be able to comment a little bit more.
Yeah. So one of the major things I really want everyone to understand is we are an investment company. We invest, meaning we obviously want profit back. It's not a charity organization. And as much as we understand that Startup Inc. is a new company, we have walked through this path with so many other companies, and we get exactly where they're coming from. But the problem has been, even though we have a seat on the table, we try to give our startup the independence of making certain decisions by themselves. We cannot feed you, we cannot force our decisions on you. We want you to make those decisions, and we will be there as a support, which is why we request things like monthly, give us an update on what's happening. Let us be aware, let us be part of the process, but we are not able to do that. And there's little we can do if you don't involve us in the decision-making process. As much as we are directors, we are not the owners of the company, and it's against our policy to go over the head of the owners of the company. which is why this has been an issue. And for financial reasons, we've given every single financial request that Startup Co has made. And if there's a new request, we are basically listening, hearing it for the first time right here. And I am very happy they have a new business coming up. But due to the issues on ground, I wasn't going to jump right in with the congratulations. I want to know where we are heading before I congratulate you on your recent venture. I definitely, for one, I would want, like my counselor said, I would want a more seamless means of communication with us. Monthly reports, you could do monthly call reports. Let's know what is happening. Let's know what's the financial status. Let us know what your problems are. Let's know where you are lacking and where we can come in. That is the major thing I want. And with the way it's going, I don't have an issue to extend our contract or give it 5 years. But we'll give it 5 years with a review period of another 1 year. Because in 5 years, we expect by the 3rd year, we've seen some improvement that indicates growth. So if in 1 year, we don't see any improvement, we can come back to this table or we can terminate our contracts. But we're willing to give them the 3 years, but with 1 year of review period.
Right. I see there are a lot of ideas being thrown around. I see there's a lot of friction with respect to the aspect of the lack of communication that's been there between both the parties. I absolutely understand. Mr. Counsel mentioned that, there could be a clause maybe wherein one of the members from your company itself goes and inspects if there's a lack of communication. Furthermore, I absolutely understand that the time period that was mentioned by Vaishnavi in the joint session about how, the startups are actually stagnant when it comes to it. But at the end of the day, you are an investment company and you look for profits. I absolutely understand that aspect. I feel that at this juncture, if you could just hear me out, this is just a solution. It's a possible solution that you might look forward to. We could possibly make something in writing about the fact that I am so sorry. Okay, I think somebody is sharing their screen, so I will just continue. We could possibly make sure we could embed it in a contract that, we should have a 1 year review period, firstly, like you mentioned. Secondly, if there could be a personnel from your own company who would go and inspect on a monthly basis so as to ensure that your company is not suffering any harm. What do you think about that?
I understand the importance of having our personnel go over. But we do not agree to the policy of having our personnel go over every 1 month. We feel that that's an encroachment on their independence. But we are willing to have seamless communication via the internet. Their computer company send us monthly reports. We don't want to have to be in your business. We can have every Q1, Q2, Q3 meetings every 3 months. That's my company and I. We are okay with that. We are okay with having every 3 months meetings to discuss budgeting. We are okay doing that, but we will not be okay with doing every 1 month, but we would want that as the message, as
right. I understand.
that communicated to me, but my counsel will basically have more information about this and how the legal aspect of it can be affected.
Right. I'm so sorry to interject. I feel that the time for caucus is over, but now that I have noted that the communication aspect is very intrinsic here, maybe we could steer the conversation in that direction and come up with possible solutions that might help keeping the collaboration intact. Does that sound okay?
Could I briefly interject and just make sure that it's clear that my client is seeking a guarantee and a schedule.
Right.
That is, well, from what I gather from listening to her and talking to her interests. So if you could, in your caucus with them, perhaps find out a little bit more if they are willing to, and then we can come back.
Right. I rightly agree. Like you mentioned, you need a method and you need a guarantee that there would be seamless communication. I agree. If we could call in the other party, if they want a private caucus here.
I think at this point, just want to remind the parties that whatever you say here within this private session will be kept confidential unless you give us the permission to do so. That being said, could we invite Startup Inc. back to the main room? And Investor Co, could you kindly move into the breakout room? That's great. Thank you. For Raj and Vishnavi, firstly, I'd like to say that the requesting party Investor Co has took 7 minutes for their private session. So in order to be fair to you, I'm extending the same amount of time of 7 minutes to you to hear you out. I just want to repeat that everything that you say in this private session to both Anushka and I will be kept confidential, unless you explicitly give us the permission and authority to share it with the other party, right? Okay. I hear that you have some expectations earlier in the caucus with regards to some of the roles and responsibilities a director should have, especially the director coming from Investor Co. Right? And Investor Co is here trying to figure out they are here to give you some sort of independence, right? And at the same time, they seek some sort of guarantee that they have heard some news or feedback from you. But at this point in time, is there anything that you'd like to tell us or anything that I could help you with?
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Mediator. One thing that I would like to tell is with respect to the offers only that as you have already narrated all the offers that we have made and all the clarifications that we already have made. But with respect to the current position of a startup, as the name suggests, we are a startup. And we are working deeply we're working deeply in our newly products and our new strategies that are going to benefit us in the long term and not in the short term. Because when a product is being launched in a market, it takes time to capture the market. Though our products are trendy and they are capturing the market in a very fast speed, but yes, they will take some time to capture the market in a whole and to achieve our target. And with this, that as I have stated many more times that we are a startup. And what value to us is not just the money, but our reputation, because reputation is something that we are building. If 5 years after, if we see something, then it is on the basis of our reputation, on the basis of our goodwill only. And for the same, we are very positive about Investor Co to consider this, to consider our reputation, and also as they are also one of the director. So now what happened here is that my company's that is startup, their expectation was because there has been a director by Investor Co. So that's the reason there were a lot of expectations. But yes, we completely understand as of this moment that we have somehow sorted some things. And that's all what I would like to add here is.
I see.
Hi there.
Sorry, Vishnavi, you have something to add?
I have something to add to that. Although we did delay our financial records, I must say here, and I was informed by Raj about the same, that all our financial records were true. They were not fraudulent. We do not produce fraudulent financial records. That is one thing that we want to put out there. While we apologized for the delay, we also, another point that I want to make is that if Investment Co sells our shares back to the market, it will disrupt the day-to-day activities of my client's company. It will adversely impact his company. And since assuming that Investment Co will still have a director maybe or maybe not in his company, it will adversely impact investment co as well. This is something that I don't want you to put out there. But one thing that I do want you to explicitly mention, that would be great if you explicitly mention outside this caucus, is that all our financial documents were true.
Thank you, Vishnavi. I believe perhaps this might be something that perhaps you would want to say. I think, especially when you want to rebuild trust, I hear that that is your key interest, right? Maybe perhaps the reason why there might be some issues with punctuality, it might be because you want to ensure that the correct information is disseminated out to them, right? And this might be a good, strong foothold to move the discussion forward. Right. At this point in time, you can see from the Investor Co's opening statement and what they have shared earlier is that they are keen to push this long term, right? Yes. But at the same time, they want to seek some assurance, right? They are willing to walk this journey with you for the next year, for the next 2 years, for the next 3 years, right? But they need some sort of assurance in the sense that you are able to provide some sort of communication options, right? So it'll be great when we return to the joint session, you'll be able to articulate some of the options that you have, trying to rebuild this trust, rebuild the communication. And thereafter, I hear you, Raj, that reputation is something important to you, and we can talk about that later, right? And so when we return to the main session, I'll provide the councils with some time to speak to each other about what their vision is, right? And Vishnavi, it will do us a lot of good if you are able to articulate some of these assurances that you are able to provide, right?
Definitely.
Coupled with the fact that you are here trying to provide accurate information, right?
I think it should come from Raj. Raj will do that. Yes.
Yes, perfect. I think both is great, but I think as the council, you are able to put the options out, but based on your comfort and synergy. Yeah, I think with that, I know that we are out of time. So perhaps Mency, our session moderator, could you bring Investor Co back into the main room?
Absolutely, I've done that.
Right. Are the parties here? All right. Welcome back to the joint session. I think after having the caucus with both the parties, we feel that it would be appropriate to steer the conversation in the direction of the communication lag that there was. I think InvestorCo wants some sort of a guarantee or a method that probably Raj and Vaishnavi could elaborate on, so that there's seamless communication between the two parties, because I feel that there is some sort of a friction on that front. I think Raj and Vaishnavi would have something to add at this juncture.
Yes, thank you, Anushka. Before Raj, you have the floor. I'd just like to make a process suggestion to both parties, and that is really for each of you to just have 1 to 2 minutes to really outline a vision for what your roles and responsibilities that you will look for in your collaborating partner, right? So listen to what the other party has to say, but don't do it sort of a to and fro, right? So perhaps back to you, Raj and Vaishnavi, would you want to share a bit more about some of the assurance you're able to give?
How about we start with the clarifications and then we go forward with the visions? Is that okay?
Up to you.
Yeah. So sure. Firstly, with respect to the clarification, a big clarification and indeed clarification, I must say that it's with respect to that how we are going to keep up with our communication services more legit. Communication with respect to finances and all other things. So for the same, I'm happy to share with you that we have reconstituted our communication as well as financial team, because yes, we were facing some issues working and we were facing some delays at the same time. So for the same, we have reconstituted both of our teams, that is the communication team and the financial team. And we are very positive in providing each and every information that is being required by InvestorCo on due time.
And in addition to that, I would like to say that the financial information that we produced thus far, although it was delayed, it was in no way fraudulent. All our financial statements are true and are correct. Yes, I do agree that there was a lapse in time. However, it was true.
Thank you. I think where Vaishnavi and Raj is going at is to say that, although there might have been some lapse in time in terms of the submission of some of the documents, really this is because they need some time to produce the accurate information in the report, right? And that might be the reason why there might be a lapse in time. And I think if this could have been communicated to InvestorCo, I believe InvestorCo would be more than willing to offer that extension of time, right? So at this juncture, Matthew or Ashmita, do you have any options that you have to improve on the communication between both parties?
Yeah, right. Sorry for the interjection here. Before we move forward, I would also like to hear the responding party I apologize. The requesting party talk about what do they feel about Raj's statement about how the communication and the financial team was reconstituted, because they accept that there were some lapses in the timeline that probably InvestorCo would have wanted.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say congratulations on that reconstitution. That shows that there's a progress. And also, but I would also want to clearly make instrumental points about how this communication would be carried out. InvestorCo would really appreciate if we would have quarterly in-person meetings. This would happen every 3 months, and this would help us understand what has been going on with you, how has business been going, what has been your challenges. Because we're here to hold your hand and walk you through it. But the thing is, we also respect your independence. I would want you to maintain that independence. Another thing is, we would also like monthly reports, but every 3 months in person, but every month, monthly reports. This can be sent via email to me and you will copy my GM and our financial accountant. So this can also help us prepare for the quarterly meetings. With this on the side of communication, I think we will be okay. That would work and we would have a seamless relationship. I'm sure my counsel has other things to say. And if we have your reviews, he reviews it and he's okay with it, I'm okay with it. We are here to make it work. So I'm here.
Great.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. If InvestorCo's counsel has anything to add?
Just that it must be guaranteed that everything will arrive on time. That is all I believe my client is really asking for, as she does believe in your business, as do I. So thank you.
Right.
At this point, I believe that we talk about the monthly reports, Ashmita. So as to what are the actual contents in the monthly report, could you elaborate slightly further about what do you like to see in the report? And when do you like the report to be received in the month?
Okay. So we understand that it takes a couple of days to put up your financial report and send it. So we're not asking at the end of the month. We would appreciate maybe at every 10th of each month. This will give you 10 days to put all your documents together, do your calculations, and let us know what has happened within that 1 month. So every 10th of each month is a more appropriate month for us to get those reports. So we have leeway. 10th deadline is 10th, so you have from maybe the 1st to 10th to send this report. And this report usually, like what we've been doing, would have your financial reports, we have your KPIs, your projections on how you want to go into the next month, what you plan to achieve in the next month. And if there's any outstanding debt that's being currently owed to the company, we can always know, okay, this is what you're supposed to do next, and this is where we've seen our lapses. So that is what we want. So if there's any other information, my counsel is always here. He's always here to support.
Right.
It would also be beneficial to have any changes in management, or as you said, if you just reconstituted your financial and communications department, I believe it'd be good for my client to be kept updated on that as well.
Right. At this point, I feel that there are a lot of suggestions from InvestorCo's side. Firstly, they are looking for a concrete guarantee on seamless communication that would be there. They expect quarterly meetings in person, if possible, and also they want monthly reports. And as was suggested by InvestorCo, they want it by the 10th of every month. Now I see that they want some guarantee here, and there's a method of seamless communication that InvestorCo is expecting. What does Startup Inc. have to say about that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Firstly, I want to thank the mediator for asking questions that we were also about to seek clarification about what all things to be involved in the report. And as it is already being clarified, there is nothing to go into it. With respect to that, I'm very glad that InvestorCo came up with these offers, and you will be glad to know that that restructuring is also being done for the same purpose only. So we here completely agree with your point with respect to the quarterly report, as well as the monthly report that you are expecting after on the 10th of each month. So I think this is a very great offer, and I am really glad that we are continuing this relationship, and I wish that we will continue this in the future as well.
Thank you, Raj, for being so open-minded and forward-looking and so acceptive of what are the options that have been placed out by Startup Inc. I believe that this sets a very good tone moving to the next point. And I think, Ashmita, you have mentioned that you are open to continue this collaboration. And as Matthew has suggested earlier, you're looking into the future, right? Perhaps you could share some of this information to inspire some hope in Startup Inc.
Yes, sure. First of all, I'm so happy that InvestorCo wants to continue its journey with Startup Inc. That's a great response. I'm so glad, and I'm also grateful I'm also glad that you could give us so much clarity about what you want from us, and that gives us a lot to work on and a lot of clarity. So I think things will run smoothly henceforth. So am I right? So correct me if I'm wrong. This is what you want from our financial statements. Every 3 months, every quarterly financial statement must include profits and losses, any debts, any changes in management, any restructuring, projections, achievements, and any other relevant information. If that's correct?
I think just a minor correction. It's not quarterly, it's a monthly financial report. As to the quarterly is for quarterly meetings in person.
Meetings
Yes.
in person. Okay,
Correct.
okay, I'll make those changes. And for assurance, like we said before, we have now started to restructure our internal management. So all our reports will come to you on a timely basis. We assure you that. And in exchange, we would expect some engagement from the directors, and which I know you will, now that you know that, now that you have the assurance, I hope, from our side. Yes, if there is that mutual engagement, I'm sure that we will do very well together.
Right. At this point, I feel that we have partially agreed on the communication, the clarification on the communication that InvestorCo was expecting, and the financial matters that there was an issue between both the parties. I think we've partially agreed. Of course, the nitty-gritties would be discussed further. With respect to engagement, like Startup Inc. has mentioned, I would like to hear what InvestorCo has to say, because they believe in independence, and there are a lot of things I'm sure they would have to add to this.
Okay, so I clearly feel that it's quite explicit. I think it's most of the things we've talked about, and we're talking about them over again. But another thing, I don't know if we've gotten to that point yet, or if we've skipped over it, is our extension of the contract. I remember when we spoke earlier, you talked about getting your 3 years complete. But we are still looking at having your 3 years as agreed, as a time frame to watch the business. But we're giving a 1-year probation period. This would help us for the assurance we're looking for. This will help us make sure that you keep to time so we can see how this business goes. If in 1 year, these lapses still continue, then we would have the right to either sell our stakes in the company or come back for another mediation. So this is one other major thing I really want to, it's part of the communication need and it's part of the assurance that we need. And if that's okay by you, that's fine by us. And if your restructuring coincides with what we want, then I think we're good.
Thank you, Ashmita, for extending this renewal. I believe this is a piece of good news that Startup Inc. might be interested to hear. So just to clue all the parties as to what has been discussed, perhaps let me attempt to summarize what has been offered by Ashmita. I think firstly, it's really to extend the contract for the next 3 years, right? But at the first year mark, to include a probation period where we'll reserve the right to terminate the contract or return to mediation as a form of dispute resolution. Matthew, have I got your client interest correct?
I think so, yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Matthew. So, Investor Co, what do you think about this proposal?
Yeah, startup, right, sir.
Right, Startup Inc. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Apologies.
So it's a completely fine thing that you, and firstly, I'm very happy that you are extending the contract for the next 3 years with the condition that the 1 year will be the probative period where you will see us. And we are completely fine with it, that you also need to have trust in us back. And at this moment, I think that we have captured much of your trust, but with this probation period of 1 year, we will get this at 100% back up. And rest of all, we are completely fine with the terms of the contractor. The council?
Yeah, I mean, I have very little to add to that. I'm sure my client will do very well towards the end of the year and win your trust back. That's about it.
Right. I feel like my co-mediator also attempted to summarize the things that we've agreed on or partially agreed on. I think since, like my co-mediator mentioned, we've agreed on the extension of the contract with the 1 year review period. First, the nitty-gritties would be discussed further. And I think we have somewhat agreed on the seamless method of communication that is very intrinsic to Startup Co here. With quarterly in-person meetings and also monthly reports that would be given by Startup Inc. to Investor Co. at the 10th of every month. And they would also like certain details with respect to the company. Is that fine with all of us? Right. So I feel that since we have somewhat covered the first agenda that was at hand, and also partially agreed on the future collaborations between the two parties, I would also like to hear what the parties have to say about the reputation, because I feel that it is very intrinsic to both the parties. And in the joint session, we mentioned that how important it is for the parties to maintain their.
I'm sorry, Anushka, you were muted for the last part. But if I could carry on just for the benefit of all the parties, I believe where Anushka is trying to guide all the parties to is to talk about the last agenda point on reputation. And this is really something that Startup Inc. has really mentioned at the forefront of their opening statements. So perhaps if it's all right with Investor Co, could we have Startup Inc. to share some of these suggestions or options you have to build this reputation up together with Investor Co? Raj and Vishnan.
I think the issue of reputation would have arisen if Startup Co would have sold its shares of, Investment Co would have sold its shares of Startup Inc. Now that the collaboration is intact and that we are continuing with the contract, I don't think an issue of reputation would arise. Should it arise ever, which I don't think is likely to, but if it does, I think it would, that is subject to later discussions. But I don't think, at least, I mean, from my end, I don't think there is any issue that arises now.
Well, I understand that, it's really heartening that, we kind of skip the reputation hot potatoes, where we might lose some of the investor confidence and all that. But I think it doesn't hurt to, I guess, bolster our reputation because of this revitalized collaboration after this mediation, right? If parties are open, in my years of experience being a mediator, there are some options where both companies can come up with to collaborate on perhaps a joint media statement to show the commitment moving forward. So how do the parties think about this?
We
I think what my
completely agree with your idea.
yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So we completely agree with your idea of this agreement, and we are ready to go for it if the requesting party wishes the same.
We'd like to hear from you, in fact.
This is a welcome development, but my counsel would review it, then definitely would go with it. As long as he's okay with it and reviewed it, then I'm fine.
I'm more than okay with it. I'm glad that everyone is.
Please go ahead.
I was just going to say that I'm really glad that we have come to this situation. There's only one brief thing I believe we skipped over, was the role of the director on the board. There's only a brief thing we skipped over, just to make sure that my client is on the same page as you. What exactly were you wishing him to do, take part in, how often? Just briefly.
I think as a director, my client would appreciate if Investment Co would actively engage in all the board meetings and would come up with a certain operational assistance that we would require, since Startup Inc. is at a place now where it is consistently developing new products and services. So it would need a lot of operational and even financial backing and just, I would say, help, not like financial investments, further investments, but maybe as directors, Investment Co, which is great with finances, could give Startup Inc. some assistance with how to go about with procedures, etc. That's what we seek.
Thank you, Vishnavi. I think you have really answered the Matthew's question quite succinctly, right? As to what you foresee the role of the director from Investor Co, other than participating actively in the board meeting, you hope that the director that is assigned to Startup Inc. will be able to have some sort of financial and operational expertise to offer that solution or some sort of guidance. So in this vein, would Ashmita be open to that idea? I'm sorry, would Investor Co be open to that idea?
Oh yes, definitely we will, because we understand, like I said earlier, you are independent. We want you to maintain your independence, but we're willing to be there for you. We're willing to guide you through the process. We're willing to give our financial advice, even legal advice. As long as we are here, our money is inside, we understand how the business works, and we are there with you. we just need, as long as everything so far has been great, you would have our full support because it's our business as well. Thank you.
Right. I see there's a lot of agreeable solutions that we have reached today in this mediation session. I feel that with respect to the role of independent directors, what Startup Inc. was looking for was some sort of engagement in the operational assistance that they would probably need. And Investico has heartily accepted that as long as they need any assistance or any guidance, they would be more than happy to provide for it. Is there anything else that the council would like to add of Investico?
If my client is happy, then I'm happy, as I truly believe that her best interests have been supported and protected. So unless the respondent council has anything to say.
Nothing.
Right. Right. I believe we are closing, we're moving towards the end of the mediation session. If my co-mediator could just quickly summarize the points that we've agreed on today. It was a very fruitful session, as I can see.
Thank you, Anushka. I feel like, I could definitely feel there was a rebuilding of trust. And instead of focusing on positions, we really dive deep into the discussion about interests. And this really allowed us to accommodate each other and come up with creative solutions. This is really, truly the beauty of mediation. Let me quickly summarize what has been discussed. First, I believe what was agreed upon was for some sort of quarterly meetings in person between Investico and Startup Inc. Right? And secondly, on monthly reports, the monthly reports can be sent to Investico via email and copying the general manager and the accountant at every 10th of each month. And what are the contents that are in this monthly report, you might ask? So some of the items that was discussed was the financial reports, KPI, projections, outstanding debts, changes in management, profits and losses, and many more. Right? As for the third agreed upon solution, it was that Investico was willing to extend this contract for 3 years, provided that at the 1 year mark, there would be a clause stating that during this probation period, they are allowed to terminate contract, provided that the monthly reports and quarterly meetings are not fulfilled. And furthermore, that they reserve the right to resolve this matter again at mediation. Lastly, about the role of the director, Startup Inc. has mentioned that they hope to look for the director to participate more actively in board meetings, and preferably for the director to have some financial and operational background. So with that, I'll pass the time on to Anushka to close us off.
Right. I think my co-mediator has succinctly summarized the things that we've agreed on, including the media advertisement that was suggested by my learned co-mediator himself. I feel that it was a very fruitful session in the sense, like Clement mentioned, that we really deep dived into the interests of each of the parties that were there in the moment, and with the open-mindedness of both the parties, we will reach certain amicable solutions. I think Raj, with taking accountability, certainly helped in taking the discussion forward, along with Investico's open-mindedness in reaching an amicable solution. I think a lot of ideas were bounced to and fro, and I understand that there are some nitty-gritties, obviously, that need to be, embedded, but I feel that's something for the next session. But in all, I feel that it was an amazing session with a lot of solutions that were being bounced, and we agreed on a lot. And along with my co-mediator, I certainly feel that it was fruitful, and I hope that the parties feel that we have somewhat partially agreed on some solutions here.
Thank you, Anushka. I believe we can now proceed with the self-evaluation. Perhaps the requesting party would like to begin first.
Can you hear me? Okay, yes. First of all, I would like to thank the judges. You people did a very great job. Like I said earlier, you people really helped us navigate through this troubled waters, and then we had to stand still. We're at a point where we now know what we want, and we now know how to get what we want and how we will work with each other going forward in the future. And also, I would really like to thank Setup Co, because we understand it's not easy. But when we started this, when I came, I wanted to tell you how we felt about everything that has been happening. And when he went in with the apology, I'm like, you can never fault a man who acknowledges his fault and wants to make amends. So that was really recommendable. And I like the suggestions. I like the way, I like the structuring. I like the fact that you're already putting in efforts to make the company better for both you and us. So I really appreciate that. And I want to thank my counsel for being here with me, for helping me through all the legal issues and making sure that we get the best for every member present here today. Thank you very much.
Yes, I thought both the mediators did very, very well. Made it very, very easy for me. I think both of the responding party were very, very eloquent, meaning that I had very little clarification to actually do. It was quite enjoyable. I'm glad that we came to this agreement. Similarly, to my clients, I was also a bit set back right at the start when you immediately came in with your success and your apology. I wasn't quite sure how my client would react to that, but she also was amazing today. Very, very, very articulate and concise. So thank you, everyone.
Right. The other party could go on, I think.
Yeah. So firstly, thank you to both the mediators. It was very smooth. And I must say that, yes, it was very smooth. And secondly, with respect to the second mediator, I actually don't remember the name. But yes, you were very smooth during the whole session. And you had done our work much easier by asking some clarification, as I mentioned earlier. It was really good. And yes, the requesting party was quite open, and that's the reason we are able to put out on the offers. We are able to take on the offers, and it's one of the reasons that we have not stuck into a particular point. That's what my observation is. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I would say the same. Both mediators did a great job, interjected at the right time, ensured that there was smooth communication, helped us navigate through the whole session, and also asked the right questions, because that's very important. And also gave a lot of good suggestions that then helped us to communicate better. And also to the other party, I think both of you were so nice, and you were so you gave us a lot of clarity. I like the fact that you came forth with the offers, and you presented us with a very clear offer as to what you exactly want from us. That was very nice. Yeah, I mean, it was by far the best mediation session.
Anushka, do you want to go first? Thank you for requesting responding.
You go ahead.
Oh, sure. Thank you. I would like to congratulate all parties. I think you guys have been incredibly receptive to some of the solutions and questions I asked, and very, very forthcoming. It makes my job and Anushka's job so much easier. I think one thing that I've done well earlier is really to call the caucus at a very opportune time. I think at that moment where some of the emotions might run high and might be talking at cross purposes, I thought that was an appropriate break to really listen up to some of the parties. And I think Anushka and I really appreciated that chance too. And secondly, I think one thing that I did well was to try to reality test some of the options that were placed on the table. I think one good example was regarding the monthly meetings and monthly reports and how the content would pan out. I think that gave both sides greater clarity as to some of the roles and responsibilities they have. I think with that said, I'll pass the time to Anushka.
Right. I think my co-mediator has succinctly mentioned everything that there was, but I really appreciate the open-mindedness of both the parties, because at mediation, it's very important that you come with an open mind, because otherwise you might get stuck on a particular point, and like Clement mentioned, the tensions run high. So I feel that with that, it was a successful session in that sense. I'm sure the time management was good from all our ends, and with the help of my brilliant co-mediator, he gave some wonderful suggestions. And I think we were able to summarize all the points well, and then we agreed on some solutions, some were partially agreed, and there are some intricacies that would definitely be dealt with in the next session. But in all, it was a very fruitful session. Thank you.
We'll hand the time back to our session moderator, Mansi.
Thank you so much, teams and mediators. Yes, you guys wrapped up in time, and it was a very wonderful session to attend. Thank you, all of you again. I request the judges to now provide the feedback to all the parties, starting with Nandini Gore ma'am.
Yeah, so congratulations to all of you, the participants and the mediators.